Good afternoon and welcome to the Standing Committee on Social Development public meeting with the RCMP to discuss One Spirit Unity Run, a national run walk for healing. This meeting is being live broadcast on Legislative Assembly channels. My name is Caitlin Cleveland and I am the MLA for Cam Lake, and I am also the chair of the Standing Committee on Social Development. I'd like to first turn the floor over to my colleagues to introduce themselves here as well today, and I'll start with the member to my left.
Hi, I'm Katrina Knockleby. I'm the MLA for Great Slave.
Richard Ajirk, I'm MLA for Trinity Ability Riding.
Thank you, and then I'd like to turn it to members on the phone lines, and I'll start with Emily Bonnet Rouge.
Ron Bonnet Rouge, MLA Detro. Good afternoon.
Lisa Semler, MLA for Inuvik Twin Lakes.
Thank you very much, members. I would like to also give an opportunity for our staff in the room to introduce themselves, and I'll start with the staff member to my left.
Good afternoon. My name is Mahalia Yakalai Newmark, and I am the Legislative Assembly Advisor for the committee. Masi.
Thank you, Mahalia. And to my right?
Amy Lazat, Committee Clerk.
And Taylor Maxwell, Committee Clerk Intern.
Thank you so much, everyone. So today we welcome members of the One Spirit Unity Run here with committee, and they are members with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to joining us in committee here and doing this public presentation so that not only committee can learn about it, but members of the public can learn about what this is as well. So with that, I would love to turn the presentation over to yourselves.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Jennifer Demers. I'm a corporal with the RCMP. I work in Ottawa under the human trafficking section here in contract and Indigenous policing. And I have two other of my teammates here with me as well.
Hi, my name is Corporal Charmaine Pronto. I'm actually from Treaty 6, Métis from Treaty 6. I grew up in Saskatchewan. I'm also in the human trafficking section in Ottawa. But I just wanted to say that I just left beautiful Yellowknife, Northwest Territories in the summer. I was there for 4 years. I was in the major crime unit there, and I absolutely love the Northwest Territories, and I miss it dearly. I just wanted to say that for sure. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to share this project and especially with the North. I love the North.
Good afternoon. My name is Selena Sevigny. I am with the RCMP Public Affairs, and I am very excited to be here today to speak about this wonderful project that the RCMP is putting together with the help of my colleagues Jennifer and Charmaine.
On that note, we'll begin our presentation. Do we just ask for the slides to change?
Absolutely, yes, please. And we can advance them for you anytime. So just let us know.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, there's a lag, I think, here. We always like to begin our presentation by sharing a quote from Dr. Art Solomon. To heal a nation, we must first heal the individuals, the families, and the communities. And in the spirit of his words, and to mark the 150th anniversary of the RCMP this year, we wanted to take this opportunity to move towards reconciliation with unity as our guide. If you don't mind changing this slide, please. Thank you. The One Spirit Unity Run is an Indigenous guided and community-led RCMP supported effort. We are hoping to generate and encourage positive momentum between Indigenous peoples, the RCMP, and Canadians at large in order to take action towards hope and healing. We intend to focus on rebuilding and repairing relationships and communities across the country. Our goal is to create a safe space for members of Indigenous communities, members of the RCMP, and Canadians from coast to coast to coast to join together and to move forward as a country and to heal in a meaningful and respectful way in the spirit of reconciliation and unity. The One Spirit Unity Run offers the opportunity to do better and create new relationships that are built on respect, equity, unity, and healing. We are committed to changing the direction of our organization and ensuring that employees practice trauma-informed Indigenous justice practices and have healing potentials, which could really exist in establishing good relationships between Indigenous communities and the RCMP. If you don't mind changing slides, please. Charmaine?
So in our work for this run, we have humbly sought permission from Indigenous right holders to hold this run on their traditional unceded lands and territories. So we've undertaken travel already. We've visited the communities in Edmonton as well as Yellowknife, and we're heading out across the country in an effort to seek permission from Indigenous right holders to ensure that this is something we can work together on these traditional lands. We are also looking to receive guidance from Indigenous elders and chiefs, as well as Indigenous community members and organizations. We're really looking for this to be a collaborative event, and we're looking to offer our support, but to let Indigenous communities take the lead on what this event will look like in their specific communities. So we're going to work together with First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities throughout the entirety of the event in an effort to highlight this beautiful Indigenous culture. And to that end, we're inviting Indigenous community members and organizations to take an active role at the national and local level to help us plan this. So we're in the process of establishing local planning steering committees to ensure that these communities have voices in the planning of the event taking place in their local communities. And we've engaged Indigenous partners both inside and outside our organization to ensure that this initiative is brought to life jointly between both groups. And this is something that we've really undertaken since the beginning of our planning, and we're going to continue to do this throughout the rest of the initiative as well. Next slide, please. So the One Spirit Unity Run is in partnership with Indigenous community members and organization. It's a national healing walk-run event. It's going to be taking place on October 22nd, 2023 for all Canadians with two distances, one 1.5 kilometer course and one 5 kilometer course. We're going to have 12 races taking place in 12 locations, all in close proximity to RCMP divisional headquarters across Canada. All proceeds stemming from this initiative, the One Spirit Unity Run, will be donated to Indigenous operated healing initiatives and Indigenous communities across the country. These Indigenous charitable organizations are selected by the local steering committees in each community. So you'll get a say on where the money goes in your own community. The hope for this initiative is that this becomes a legacy event that takes place annually and continues to grow in communities across the country. We've selected 12 locations in our inaugural year, close to RCMP headquarters to help in both planning and participation. But the hope is to see this take place in smaller communities across the country to be able to offer this healing space to everyone. Next slide. So planning on this event actually started in 2022. We have successfully selected an operational partner, Run Ottawa, and a financial partner, the RCMP Foundation. In 2022, we also created a sponsorship package that was sent out to interesting corporations to fund this event. In our partners and our sponsors, we're always looking for organizations with reconciliation as a priority, whose visions and value align with those of the race. In 2022, we've also started work on identifying Indigenous charitable partners to receive the proceeds from this event, and work is currently being done by our local steering committees to finalize those decisions. In 2023, we've actively engaged with sponsors on both the national and local level, and this is ongoing. We're starting travel to communities and race cities to meet with Indigenous community members and organizations. This is helping us in establishing our local steering committees who are going to oversee the event planning in their city. We're also looking to create a national event mass messaging as well as local event messaging, and we're going to be producing and shipping branding kits to all cities where this event is being hosted. On October 22nd, 23, we welcome Race Day. Next slide. So these steering committees that I mentioned exist on two levels. At the national level, we have a number of planning partners that have been identified. Indigenous community members and organizations, representatives from charitable partners, contract and Indigenous policing members from inside the RCMP, some representation from public affairs, and from the RCMP Foundation as well. At the local level, the steering committees consist of Indigenous community members and organizations, including elders and chiefs that we've met with along the way. We've spoken with City Partners Association and community members and welcomed their presence on the committees as well. And we're also inviting local corporate partners who might want a chance to be part of this event. Both committees also have representation from run directors at the local and national level as well. I'll go back to Jen here for our last slide.
Charmaine, you don't want to do this one?
Yeah, sure, I will.
Yeah, this is your
Sorry,
slide.
I haven't been talking much because I lost my speaking notes. I apologize for that. So this is really important to us, is our Indigenous partners. And for just for the simple fact of reconciliation and how me, Jen, and Selena can definitely say we are committed to the calls to action. And so we, from the onset of our project, we ensured that we had Indigenous peoples lead us and guide us, and the knowledge keepers guide us to make decisions. We started off with a mission statement, and we've been guided the whole way through. And that's when Selena had said we're traveling across Canada, because that's something that, you know, we want to make sure that it's inclusive to everybody, and that we're being, you know, culturally respective in all areas of Canada. So as Selena had mentioned, we're going to be having these national and local steering committees with our Indigenous partners being highly involved. We've met with an Indigenous artist yesterday that's going to create a national logo, which will be uniform across Canada. The Indigenous elders and chiefs also, like I said, have been providing us with guidance and wisdom, and have continued to do that. We want to ensure that community members lead the way, and this is their event, and that the RCMP is taking sort of a back seat and ensuring that it's done to highlight just how wonderful and awesome, you know, our Indigenous people are across Canada. The Indigenous community members, are invited to lead the activities. Like, for an example, here in Ottawa, instead of giving medals at the end of the walk run, they're giving strawberry seeds, because that's important to their culture, and so we're very respectful of whatever anybody wants, in terms of these types of activities. And that's all for that slide. Is that our last slide, Jen?
It is.
It is. Okay. Wonderful. So I guess we'll take, any sort of questions or comments or even advice. We're very open to anybody's advice, and if they have any knowledge that they want to share with us or ideas, we're open to everything.
Thank you very much to all three of you for your presentation and for joining us here today. So with that, I'd love to turn the floor right away over to my colleagues, to anybody that has any questions or comments in regards to the presentation that we just had. Emily Knockleby.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's such a great idea. I really, we do a lot of these sort of fundraising events, or you see a lot of these fundraising events come up, or awareness events, but I really appreciate that the thought and consideration has given to how to have it be Indigenous led and Indigenous direction. I think that's super important. We do see, I want to say I acknowledge how what the RCMP contributes and does for society. However, there is still clearly work to be done to work on the relationships, especially up in our sort of northern neck of the woods kind of thing. And I personally have had some interactions with the RCMP here, and I believe the intent really is to move things forward and the relationships forward. But it needs to be done in a manner that's respectful. So I see all of that here, and I really appreciate that piece. I guess I'm already in my mind thinking of like which organization should get this money, and I know that won't be my decision to make, but I know there are a lot of people here in the territory, a lot of NGOs that would be great beneficiaries of getting any of the money. So I guess my question would be is, in raising money, is this going to be sort of where people are seeking pledges from people to do the walk? Will we be looking for corporate donations? How will the money itself actually get raised? Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Knockleby. And who would like to take this question?
Well, I can speak to that. I apologize that I'm just a name on a screen, but I'm a real person, I promise. So great question. Thanks for your feedback, Emily. Really appreciate that. Now, we're going to be bringing funds in two ways for this event. So we're going to have race registration, and it's going to be open to the general public. So we'll be making money from the registration of the race. That will help offset some of our costs as well. And we're also going to be taking in money through corporate sponsorships at both a national and a local level. We completely appreciate that there might be, you know, smaller organizations, mom and pop shops in the communities that might want to participate in this event. So we really wanted to open the door and have that community side of things. But we're also acknowledging that, you know, a national corporate sponsor would be very helpful in terms of not only offsetting the costs, but having that money go back into the charitable fund that we're raising through this. So the money will be brought in both ways. We're going to have the option when race registrations are open for runners to pledge money if they'd like. There's no necessity to that. It's not something you have to do to participate in the race. Once your fee's paid, you're in, and you're welcome to all the activities around the event as well.
Thank you very much, Emily Knockleby.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that part of it, because I always like to participate in stuff, but then when it comes time to having to spend like 2 weeks ahead of time getting people to commit money to me, I don't end up doing it. So I appreciate that there's sort of the flexibility there for you know, people to pledge, but also just to come in and participate for like a nominal fee. I think another piece of suggestion that a suggestion I would make is, while I think everything does need to be led and driven by the Indigenous organizations, I would suggest reaching out to the Chambers of Commerce in order to get those corporate and business donations that you may want to get in. They're a great way of distributing information to people. They send out news blasts that we get as MLAs, and I'm sure many others do. And then as well, the Association of Communities, the NWT Association of Communities, I think would be a really good advocate or liaison for you to get that information out to the municipalities. So not really a question there, just a suggestion. And I think this is great, and I love to see all these strong women working on this as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily Knockleby. Members, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Emily Semler.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And just for the communities, like you said that there'll be 12 different areas. For the Northwest Territories, are you saying next to the headquarters? So this will always happen in Yellowknife?
Thank you, Emily Semler. And who would like to take that one?
For the first year, we did identify that as a location. We are opening up that conversation to the steering committee where they can discuss maybe in the future how they would like to see it unfold and the location. But for this year, we identified it. We're kind of on a crunch time as well, so we're trying to be as respectful and organized as possible. So that was where we got the most manpower to make it happen as well. So that's why for this year.
Thank you, Charmaine. Sorry, Ms. Parenteau.
Hi, sorry, I didn't see that. Usually we have a little hand that we can stick up. I'm not sure if this is appropriate or not, if I can just speak out of turn here, but I just wanted to say that we will have a virtual platform. And so we are going to be contacting the schools as well to ensure the participation, so every community can participate. And that's really important to us. And that, there is going to be a virtual platform when people go to register. Another thing that wasn't mentioned that, completely forgot here is that on June 21st, the National Indigenous Peoples Day, it's going to be free for Indigenous people to sign up for the race to participate. And so, but on that race platform, there will be an option to participate virtually. So, and like I said before, we're also going to be in contact with all the schools across Canada, and we are going to be providing them with this information about the run, so they can participate as a school if they wish in the communities.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Emily Sumler?
Yeah, no, that's great. That was going to be my next, because I know that like in our community, I mean, in the Northwest Territories, and then I mean in any province, you know, I mean, especially here in the Northwest Territories, Yellowknife is always an area where the majority of the population there is non-Indigenous. So when we're talking about, you know, incorporating this and being led by Indigenous people, if it's always in Yellowknife and as an Indigenous MLA, you know, that's one of the things that we continue to run, and everyone will know we keep saying is not everything happens in Yellowknife, and especially if it's in the intent of and spirit to build reconciliation. Indigenous people are outside, and so knowing that virtually and the schools will be and you know, our children will be able to take part in this. And I know as a kid growing up in the Northwest Territories, it was always exciting for when the RCMP came in and we got to go tour the RCMP and those types of things, because it made RCMP safe and not the bad guy, whereas sometimes we've grown up in a society to look at RCMP as negative in Indigenous communities. So I think that's just beginning to rebuild that relationship. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And sorry, I was just going to say, is there anything that that your side would like to be able to add to that? I know it was more of a comment there. Okay, I will
just really appreciate the feedback.
Excellent. No, thank you for that. I'll pass the floor over to MLA Bonnet Rouge.
Merci, Madam Chair, and merci to wonderful ladies for presenting to us. I can just feel the excitement and momentum building up just from you guys in the presentation. I too have been a former Indigenous leader as a chief back in the early 2000s when at one meeting we had with an RCMP head there, we talked about reconciliation, I guess restorative justice it was called back then. And we didn't see much happening out of that in all those years. I'm sorry, you're meeting me for the first time, but a pessimist, I guess you could say. But that's what was happening all the time in that. And I see in our small communities, you know, we see some improvements, you know, in relationships. And a lot of times there's still barriers, you know, we got hard drugs entering our small communities, even the small ones. And we're having some OD deaths in our small communities. In the small communities we talk about in the Northwest Territories, you know, we're anywhere from 50 to 700-800 people in the small communities. Everything's outside of Yellowknife and outside of the regional centers. And there's always concern, you know, from local people, you know, the elders, men, women, they're concerned for the youth. And the illicit drugs, you know, we got access to a highway, we're on highway systems. People are always scared of highway systems. The small communities that don't have it now are always afraid of that because there's a free flow of all types of drugs running in and out of our communities. And right now, to this day, in my small community right here, and we try to question the inspector of the G division in the territories, you know, why are they not targeting these drug dealers in our small communities? And we're still scratching our heads. Why do they not show up for emergency situations in our communities, like people collapsing, having heart attacks? You know, we're still scratching our heads. You know, when you're going to talk about reconciliation, you know, you really have to mean it. And we need it to see through actions. You know, when I was a young child growing up here, the makeup of my community was mainly, it was forested and bush back in the day. And we used to have RCMP that, you know, used to give people a ride home from stores and stuff like that, you know. We don't see that anymore. They just zoom by right now and, you know, splash the mud all over you type of thing. You know, we don't have, we don't have that, you know, that family unit type of thing, like you're trying to promote. And I don't know about this run here. I don't know. You're talking about a race. I don't know if we're racing across Canada or what, but, you know, that's the type of reconciliation, you know, and it's nice to, and I'll just note that the RCMP and many of our small communities do monthly crime reports, data to our leadership, like the Hamlet councils and the Denneban council. So, you know, that's really good stuff. That's part of the reconciliation, I guess. And you know, it's just them things that people still have concerns about and whatnot, and how, you know, how we would like to have it promoted to get more Indigenous people from the small communities even to become RCMP members. I think they had a program quite a number of years ago that they had some members of the community working with the RCMP for a period of time, but it didn't go any further than that. And I'm not sure why they're not still promoting that to get to come into our communities, do their presentations, and try to recruit. You know, we may have some interested individuals. You need to come out and reach out to them. I would really encourage you guys to do that. You know, as part of this whole process. And like I said before, you know, I'm enthusiastic. I guess even being a pessimist, I can be enthusiastic, but and really look forward to the activities that will be happening. And you mentioning going into the schools to do this is a real great idea. Another thing I just want to mention is I really love that crest with the bison head on there. It's we're at the cusp of the Mackenzie Wood Bison Sanctuary, and the bison live right in the community with us too. So I can relate to that crest there. And Masi Cho for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Bonnet Rouge. And can I pass the floor back to somebody on the other side?
I can speak a little bit to that. Thank you, Ron, for your comments, and I bet you it's beautiful living in that community with the bisons around. I think from our perspective, that community engagement level, we are really looking to achieve that with this event. We're looking to open the doors to everyone, and our hope is that through this event, we can create change in our own organization with how we interact with not only Indigenous communities, but Canadians at large. So it's definitely part of a bigger conversation and hopefully bigger change that starts to happen within our organization and hopefully across the world. But we're hoping to take literal steps forward with this Run Walk event. We're really looking forward to working with community members, and I think establishing these local steering committees where we have, you know, representation from youth, we have representation from the RCMP, we have representation from businesses, from Indigenous organizations. I think creating that space for people to come together and talk and plan might help bridge some of those gaps, and hopefully can help us move forward and assist in our communities as needed. So this is very much a community-led event. We're very much looking for guidance. Emily, I really appreciate you speaking about the Chambers of Commerce. I think that's something we're definitely going to have a look at. And Ron, if there's ever anything, any kind of groups or youth associations you think we should be speaking with, we're more than happy to meet with them, have the conversation, and invite them to join our steering committees as well.
Thank you so much. Committee members, are there any additional questions that anybody has? Hearing none, I might ask just a couple that relate to some of the questions that my colleagues have already asked. One of the things that Emily Sumler pointed out is that while half of the NWT's residents live in Yellowknife, less than half of our Indigenous population lives in Yellowknife. And so if this is, a run walk specifically focused on healing and ensuring that not only the activity itself is available to Indigenous Northerners, but also those charitable donations. And so I'm wondering if your group is working with kind of a policy or an outline that speaks to how organizations will be selected at the end of the day, and whether or not, for example, the mom and pop shops in the north that were discussed in the presentation that might want to participate in corporate donations, they might want to know that the dollars they put forward are staying in the north. And that might be kind of a different expectation than national corporate sponsors. And so I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. So our financial partner, the RCMP Foundation, has committed to full financial transparency on this event. So they've created 12 separate accounts for each race location. They'll be taking in race registration that'll be going back into that local community. Same thing with the local sponsorship. The national sponsorship will be divided. But other than that, we can truly say that any local dollars that are going into this community event will go back out into that community itself. And there's going to be an audit completed that's also going to support that in terms of the financial side of things. When it comes to the mom and pop shops, again, very happy to bring those up along for the ride. Very happy to have that support offered there. And we've built our sponsorship package to kind of keep in mind that mom and pop shop capabilities are not necessarily at a national level. And we've offered a variety of options where hopefully they can find a spot where they're comfortable and they see themselves fitting in, but they also get to come and participate in their communities.
Thank you so much. And the other question that I have is in relation to what my colleague Emily Bonnet-Rouge was speaking about. And one of the things that he touched on was kind of that walking the talk piece. And I love that this is like a grassroots initiative that has come from, passionate members within the RCMP that are kind of growing and almost, birthing this project, for lack of a better description, and seeing it grow and hopefully seeing it flourish and acknowledging the need for not just healing, but relationship building. And part of that relationship building is building trust, but then also maintaining that trust. And, one of the things that we hear about a lot is organizations taking the steps to focus on their understanding piece, and so doing kind of cultural competency training. And I see the RCMP as being in a really unique position where it's not just about understanding the history, but also understanding their role as far as walking that talk today. And so I'm wondering if there will be kind of an education component either within the RCMP or RCMP to external. I know the North is very different in that, we all, whether or not we are Indigenous or not, are expected to understand and want to understand the history. And, I sit here with Indigenous colleagues. I had the opportunity to go to school with Indigenous family and friends. And so it's different up in the North than it is down South. We hear all the time from students who go to school down South how there is that lack of learning. And in the North, it's different. In the North, it's about that reconciliation. We are at that reconciliation piece. And so I'm wondering if there is that next step as far as that reconciliation of, more trauma-informed training rather than just the understanding training. Thank you.
Yes, so in our planning, and Jennifer and Charmaine have been especially wonderful with this, but we've really taken a trauma-informed approach when it comes to how we've approached the planning of this initiative and how we're interacting with Indigenous communities and organizations. As I mentioned with Rob, our hope is really to create change within our organization using this. So we'll be championing that cause of keeping this moving and implementing things that we learned along the way into our organization. One of the things that's really stood out to the group as we've kind of undertaken this initiative is healing is such a broad term, and we've already discovered that it means 12 different things in 12 different communities. And that's been evident with the conversations we've had where these races are all taking place. And that's something that we've kind of gone back internally and we've reflected on what that could mean and how we approach policing in itself. So policing might mean something in the broad term, but how that's implemented and how that's translated in different communities might not look the same all over Canada. So our hope is really to have those conversations, continue having those conversations, and create meaningful change inside our organization, just as we're aiming to outside the organizations with the relationships that we're building for this initiative.
Thank you so much for that. And Emily Knockleby does have another question. Go for it.
Just a small one, and it was spurred by what Emily Cleveland said. I guess when you're looking at the small mom and pop businesses for donation or sponsorship, I just want to ensure, and I'm sure it is, that they will also be invited to give donation in kind. So I think some of our businesses are not really set up to give financial donations, but would be, willing to provide volunteers or, employees, give employees time off, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to make sure that I made that point, and I'm sure it was already on your radar, but just thought of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily Knockleby, and I'll turn that back over to yourselves.
Yes, that's actually one of the things that we've been most excited about, to really see how we can work together and in turn support these local organizations. So definitely donations in kind are 100% accepted and welcome. And we really want this to be an opportunity for people to be able to join together, unite, and heal. So if that means, giving the employees a day off, or maybe it's giving part of a service that you normally offer, we're happy to receive that donation. And in turn, we're happy to put that as part of our partnership effort on our website, on our social media channels, and really help shine a spotlight on these local associations and organizations that at the end of the day really help make events like this come true.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for your presentation. One of the things that we in committee have had the opportunity to see in communities when we do engagement is different ways that some RCMP members are forging those relationships, and sometimes that's changing how that relationship works by going and sitting and playing, a card game over a conversation rather than strictly being enforcement. And so really thinking outside the box as to how to build that relationship. And I think that efforts like this can really, for some, be that launching off point in order to look at enforcement or policing in a new light. And I love that it's a grassroots effort on your part. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time here today. I'm wondering if you can maybe let the public know that's listening how they can either as a school get in touch to sign up, or how corporate sponsors can potentially find out more information and get involved. If you can kind of leave some parting words of people who want more and want to join the cause. Thank you.
Yes, so you can visit our website. If you visit rcmp-f.ca, you'll find the One Spirit Unity Run page. It's on there. It's got a quick little background on what the event is, and as it really comes together, we'll be adding to it, we'll be building it up. So that's a great way to kind of keep up with us. You can also find us on social media, One Spirit Unity Run, on Facebook as well as Instagram. And I will add it to the chat here for those who are participating so they can have quick access by that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming and speaking with committee here today. Charmaine, your Northern family will take you and your family back anytime, and we'll steal you away from Ontario and back to the Northwest Territories, please.
I would love it. I would love it. I would.
Okay, thank you so much. And can I have a motion to move in camera, please? Thank you, Emily Knockleby, and thank you to the public for joining us here today.
Merci, Cho, everybody. Merci, Cho.